¿Ya? ¿Cómo voy now?
3, 3, 2, 1.
¿Qué onda, bandita? ¿Cómo están? Yo soy Ro y en este video tenemos una entrevista muy especial que les queremos mostrar. Ya saben un poquito de qué se trata porque ya vieron el título del video, pero queremos presentarles a nuestra gran amiga y compañera Darylle.
Hola! Hey, what's up guys? My name is Darylle Johnson. I'm a board game designer and publisher from Vancouver, Canada. I'm here in Mexico right now with my friends and I wanted to share a little bit about my game, I'm Right, You're Wrong. Our company's Right, Wrong Games and we make light strategy card games. I forget what I was going to say. Fun fact, I've been traveling around the world for the last year and a half. I've lived in 30 homes in that time. It's been super crazy, but I've had the chance to meet a lot of different people and play our games in a lot of different countries, so it's been, yeah. Fun fact, when I was a kid, I was attacked by a goat.
I know you already introduced yourself, but we wanted to know more about you, what brought you here. Why choosing Mexico City? I know you've been traveling a lot of Mexico. You told us a lot about like behind cameras, but why choosing Mexico for all your travels? Like what motivated you to come here?
I just feel more at home here. It's hard to explain why I feel more at home here. It's like a sense of welcoming here. And when we first launched our Kickstarter, we actually had a primary audience in Mexico. Okay. And we're like, oh wow, like we didn't know that our game had so much interest over here. And we're like, why? Is it like the theme of the game, or like what is it?
What was kind of the main audience you targeted this game for initially? Like only Canada audience, US audience?
It was the US. We thought, okay, well, like the US is really big, English-speaking board games, it makes sense, let's go after that. But then whenever we would put ads out, first it was the audience in Mexico that was like gravitating the most to it, and we were told that it's more difficult to get games over here, it's not in Spanish, and so we reverted the ads back over to Canada, USA again, and then Spain took off. We're like, oh my god, okay, there's like a Spanish desire for this style of game for whatever reason. 18 months later, I land here in Mexico City, and I meet you guys, I meet Lena and Ro, and all of a sudden I'm like immersed in the Mexico City board game community.
Plus you were saying in front of the board game cafe.
Oh my god, yeah.
And that wasn't even planned.
No, like
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. No, I was in Los Angeles and I was like, I have to go back. I need to go back to Mexico. I just felt the call, you know? And so I'm like, hey, I need to book an Airbnb, and I'm trying to find one that's like within the price range or whatever. And I'm like, okay, that one looks decent. Let's choose that. So I booked that Airbnb, and then when I arrive here, I'm going on Google Maps and figuring out where it is, and I see this Raven Folks literally across the street from my door entrance. It's just like so simpatico.
What was the biggest culture shock when the first time you came here?
It's a few things. Like
I know getting out of your comfort zone and actually traveling solo, that's one thing. I think that's the biggest. But also, I mean, I haven't been to Canada yet, but I feel like it's two very different cultural experiences, I think.
There's this like stigma, and people say, oh, like be careful, you know, you're in Mexico alone, like something bad is gonna happen to you, and it's not. Like I've felt more safe every area that I've traveled in Mexico than I ever did in let's say the USA or in Canada even. I felt more welcome here. You know, people say hello to their neighbors. It's just, there's more like
that warmth,
community warmth here. There was just one day where I decided I don't want to live in Canada anymore. I want to go like digital nomad, whether that be here or another country. And I honestly had no idea what I was getting into. I'm like, I brought my cat with me, and we hopped on a plane and we landed first in Merida. And my favorite thing is really the people.
What's been the favorite food or the food that you like the most here? And what was the one that you were surprised the most that you liked?
Chilaquiles.
Chilaquiles?
I told you.
Green sauce or red sauce?
Verde.
Verde.
Boo.
What? You like the roll?
I hate the green one.
It's just more acidy. I guess.
Is
I
it?
like that acid. Yeah, because
I
it's in
like
the
it.
tomate verde. The green tomato, it's more acidy, whereas the other one's like kind of sweet.
I like both.
Spicy?
But in Canada, we don't have chilaquiles there. It's not a thing.
You should.
Yeah, we should. Yeah.
Pick up.
Talk to us a little bit more about your board games. Well, this particular one, because I know you had other one in the works, but just this one. Right, you're wrong.
So when we first started making games, I actually wasn't a gamer. I had played, like Uno, Monopoly, Risk.
Catan, something like that.
Not even Catan.
Oh.
Yeah. I had a dance studio prior to this. I was in the dance industry since I was 7 years old. And then the pandemic happened, and I was trying to figure out, well, what do I want to do now? Because everything shut down. My friend and also website designer for my old business, he had this idea about making a game inspired by arguments. I'm like, cool, that sounds like a fun idea. Let's do that. Let's just try that out. So I actually thought we were making something like that. I thought we were making more like a social fill in the blank, actually argue game. And that's why we ended up calling it I'm Right, You're Wrong. Because I'm like, that's the perfect name for a party game where you fight. This game is so representative of him and I.
Okay.
There's two personalities. We have completely different viewpoints on things, completely different experiences. Even though the game was inspired by an office fight or an office argument that he had, when we look back at this game, we're like, holy crap, this is literally us. I don't know how to play all of these games, and I'm out here having launched my own game, not even realizing what I'm getting myself into. But during that time, I started learning more and understanding different types of game mechanics and just the whole industry and what it involves. Playing the harder game, what was the one called
Great Western Trail?
Playing the Great Western Trail, and other games more simple like The Mind, and really acquainting myself with it. So it's been quite the journey of launching a game and learning about games simultaneously through this whole process. We ended up making something that was, I think, kind of unique compared to what would be out there, because sometimes when you don't have a box that you have to operate inside of, you operate outside of it unknowingly, and you can introduce new concepts. So.
Well, yeah, like you said, instead of being biased by games you already knew, or I want to make a game just like this with this strategy, you came up from scratch with the game you like.
Yeah, this is what we want to do with no barriers. So, yeah.
Yeah, briefly about a little bit of the challenges, but what would you say the biggest one for you as a designer for creating this game?
I've never made a product before this. I was always in service. It's teaching dance, running a dance studio. I didn't even know that there was a difference between a graphic designer and an illustrator. So learning all of those things, and then having a concept in mind, and then tying that together with the whole team and making sure it's congruent with everybody's thought processes and what comes onto actual paper. I think just tying it all in and then bringing it to life as a whole. I know that's not one specific thing, but we made this yellow one first, or we say amarillo, and we made this one based off of what we think is appropriate and what people would want, or not get us socially canceled.
Was that the original idea? Because I know. Then I'm sorry for interrupting.
It's okay.
The Not Safe for Work, I was like, what did it come up with the Not Safe for Work version? Was this the original one? Or
that's what we really wanted to make.
Okay.
Yeah, we were we wanted to make the red box, but we were ooh, if we do that,
might be a little bit too much for some people. Because I know it's not that.
It's not, and then it's funny,
it's really funny.
Being here in Mexico, there's not a single person that's been I just want the yellow box. Everybody's we want the red one.
Really?
Yeah. We made this one, and we were we didn't really do what we fully wanted to do.
Okay.
So we're hey, we have to make the bad game now.
And what are the main difference between those two?
Swear words and explicit content. Yeah, the art's just for adults and not for children at all. No niños.
What was originally the target audience for this?
When we made this one, there wasn't a plan like that. It was let's just make something that we like. But Derek liked this and I liked that, and we mishmashed them together. So then after it was made, we're okay, how do we market this? Who are we going after? Honestly, this first game was a huge learning lesson for us. I've had people say, this game is for everyone. I mean, you can't, it is an intro to strategy games. So I think somebody who's played the basic card games and they want to get into something with a little bit more strategy, this is, if it were to encompass a wide group of people, it would be that people who just want to bring their friends into the strategy world, because there's things like traps. There's 3 different cards in the game, and one of the cards is the yellow cards, and it plays as a trap where it gets triggered by other cards being played, and that's not typical in your very intro level. Let's get something that is like a gateway game to the game world.
Yeah, like you said, something to hook them in or engage them and like, oh, then I want to play something else and something else.
Yeah.
It's not like an age specific, it's more like people who, I mean, they either already know board games or even it doesn't
People
matter.
who want to trap their friends into the game world.
Yeah. Are you preparing any other board games coming on in the future? Are you working on something?
During this process, I fell in love with board games. So I went from only understanding like basic mainstream party games, and then through learning all these games, making one of our own, and then also making friends and community with it, I really became like, this is what I want to do with my life now. We've been working on our next one for the last year this month. Like with this game, we went really, really fast, learned as quick as we could, and now the next one that we're making, it's like, let's take our sweet time.
Okay.
The premise for our next game is we wanted to do something that's more like an adventure, sort of like a story. I don't know if you guys have Goosebumps. So kind of like choose your own adventure. It's a co-op game. We realized that with co-op games, most of them are either like zombies, apocalyptic, end of the world, war, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think there's room for games that are more like just on the lighter side. But with some mature themes. It's kind of mature, but maybe like 16 plus.
Okay. Are you planning on distributing in Mexico?
Definitely,
any other countries?
definitely. Yeah, we have to. I told Derek we have to have a Spanish version for the next game that we make, like non-negotiable. Even if it's only like 100 copies or whatever it is, we have to do that.
Mexico is already used to a lot of things being in English, so we don't have that much problem with it.
Yeah.
But with European countries, especially like Spain, they're not used to anything in English. They're only used to Spanish games and being translated. They don't pretty much consume any other game.
A lot of the stuff that we have is not just, pick up another card. It has context with the humor, the flavor text in it. So then we will have to also nail that culturally for the translation.
What was one of the good things that came up with it, and like a good experience or a good thing you remember about it throughout the journey?
This has been about so much more than just board games or card games, tabletop games. I feel like it's helped me, I know it's helped me get out of my shell. Like sitting here doing this would not have happened 2 years. Like no way, there's no way. You guys saw me, I was a little nervous. Like with somebody who had social anxiety, that was not
really
something I wanted to do.
Or like a little tipsy, something like
that. You put yourself into enough uncomfortable situations, you're gonna eventually get over it. You're gonna get over yourself. And I started to realize that it's not so bad, it's not so scary, and this community, the board game community, is so welcoming. It's people want more people to come and play games. Games aside, it really helped me become more confident in myself, more okay with like, if you mess up, it's all good, like just keep on going. Giving me a chance to meet new friends, the way that I met you guys, how would we have met otherwise, right? And when you get skills stacked up, eventually those skills give you competence in something, and competence eventually comes to confidence as well. And so I would say board games has like unequivocally helped me become more confident in myself and fulfilled. I wanted to do something else, but I didn't know what. Like what direction do I look? What am I gonna create in my life next? And so this really gave me purpose. It gave me something that I fell in love with and has helped me feel like totally aligned.
Also, a question that we also like to ask people: what was your favorite game when you were growing up? Not necessarily, I know it's not a board game, but like any toys or any games like in recess where you're like playing?
Yeah, I was a bit of a game nerd. My first game that I played was Mario. The one in the gray box, like the old
Nintendo
school
64?
Before.
Oh.
Original Mario, like with the where you have to blow the
little disc. The little disc.
Yeah, me and my dad used to play that, and like all the neighborhood kids would come over and try to beat me, but they couldn't. Halo, Zelda.
So you're really a video game fan?
Yeah. I mean, yes and
Currently?
no. No, because I know I will be addicted.
Best and the worst thing as a board game designer.
Okay. So the best part about being a board game... Oh my god, I can't stop. The best thing about being a board game designer is that you can do whatever you want, But the worst thing about being the board game designer is that you can do whatever you want. Because there's no real limits, and so you can go off and like, oh my god, I want to create this, and this magical world and all of these mechanics, and then you do too much or you go too far in one direction. And so it's like your freedom and creativity is both the blessing and the curse at the same time.
Like you can overdo yourself and like there's no guideline for anything. Like nobody can stop me.
Yeah, it is really easy to go way too deep. And then if you do that and you haven't really checked yourself along the process, you could end up blowing a lot of money on illustrations and graphics and realize, oh my god, okay, we went too far, we need to redo all of that now. And like no ego, you need to be able to hear, this game is not good, like you need to redo this and that and just rework things without having your personal
Yeah, not take it personally.
Yeah, for sure.
Just if you could talk to us a little more about the game you're working and behind the scenes.
Okay. So we don't have a name for it yet. Okay. We thought we had a name a few times and we had to scrap those ones, but it's inspired by our own personal inner demons. And so there are characters that are associated with like greed, or characters that are associated with procrastination or laziness. There's 16 different characters, and we're building them out based off of these fundamental core inner demons. Derek and I are building out this like crazy world where something like the right portal and the wrong portal at the same time, we get like zapped into this world. And so now we're in this crazy land where there's all these characters with opinions and these personalities, but we're stuck in this world and we're trying to escape it. So as we try to escape this world, we make it worse and we accidentally create more characters that are really representative of like our own inner stuff going on. Now your job as the player is that you've been plopped into this world and you're like, oh my god, we're gonna die, like there's chaos here, we must capture them all. You can always choose the right path, choose the left path, try to survive, but also capture all of the 16 characters. And if you can get through it and capture them all, then you do win. If you don't, then you all lose together. Some really weird, messed up characters. I think the first thing is know why you're doing it. Like if you're doing it just for the creative fulfillment, just I want to make a game and it ends there, then just have fun, like just make whatever feels good to you and don't be so hard on yourself in the process. If you want to make a game or games that create a business from it, you still want to have fun and you still want to enjoy it, but you need to make sure it's really important that other people enjoy it and you know who those people are. One of my favorite board game creators, Elan Lee, he had a podcast recently with Tim Ferriss, and he's talking about the main thing that they figure out first is the core game loop. So you know that this is the basic mechanic for it, and before you start putting all of the extra spice on the game, play it with people, and the only question you ask is, do you want to play it again?
Yeah.
And if they want to play it again, okay, let's move on.
We got something.
Yeah, but don't lie to yourself and be able to read the situation, like do they actually like it? Because people want to be nice, people don't want to be like, nah, I don't want to play it again. And further than that, there's a really good book called The Mom Test, and the Mom Test is about making a product and obviously testing it with others, but don't test it with people like your mom. Your mom's going to be your biggest supporter. Everything you do is good. You don't want to get
the praises and everything.
Praises are not going to help you at all. So then that comes down to be vulnerable and have humility and no ego. Just take the lessons and apply. There's one more thing is don't listen to everybody. Like everybody's gonna have a different opinion. So test the game with who you're making the game for and listen to their feedback. If I'm making a game for people who like something that's 15 minutes long, maybe you could play it a couple times and it's really quick and the strategy level is like 5. I don't know what 5 represents. Don't go and test it with people who only like Gloomhaven. Like it's not the same thing. It's okay if people like games such as Gloomhaven, but they have to also like the stuff that you're trying to create too. It's more helpful to have the feedback that will make it better. Yeah. I mean, I'm Right, You're Wrong is the perfect game as like an icebreaker for even if this might sound crazy, but like if you're going on a date, it's a good game to play for that because you get to interact with each other in a funny way. It's not that hard to learn. And you can see how the other person's personality is when they're playing a game. And it's more complex than some of the games that have been on the market for like 50. I don't want to like trash any other games. it's fun for a small crowd gathering together, whether that be like the family or your adult friends, whether you're going into a game night and you want to start game night off, or whether you're just having like a social gathering with some, we say vino y
Vino.
cheese and wine night.
Vino y quesito.
Vino y quesito.
Vino y quesito.
It's just a really great game if you want to have something like really quick and something to start the night off, or something where you can still be really social while you're playing.
What's your favorite board game?
I don't have a favorite board game. I know that's bad. I don't have a favorite.
No, it's not bad.
I guess it's kind of similar to the question, do you want to play one board game for the rest of your life or all of them once? It's more like I just like adventure and learning something new and having new experiences, and the board games just behave as the experience. You know, there are ones that I like more than others. I think I'm gonna sound like a little self-absorbed when I say this, but the one that we're making, the co-op adventure game, I'm like, I want to make exactly what I want to play. Oh, okay, I know one. So I would always hear this song wherever I am, and you hear this song going on. I couldn't quite tell what it's saying, and up until like a week ago I only learned what it meant, but it was the people in the truck that are collecting the old appliances.
And you sell them to them and they just pick it up. It's like the garbage, but
and so like I was here in Mexico City a year ago and I hear it all the time, and at first I'm like, oh, that noise again, and then I come back and this time around I'm like, oh, it's so nostalgic.
I know. Es el del...
Yeah, and that's particular thing to Mexico City. That doesn't happen anywhere else. We would like to thank you very much for being here, taking the time for being here and answering all our dumb questions.
No, thank you for having me.
But yeah, we're so glad to have you and got to know you. Well, the time you were here, I know it was like a random experience to got to know you and that, how we met. Thank you very much.
I mean, thank you guys as well. It's been really nice and I feel really welcome here, so I appreciate you guys. Our social media is @rightwronggame and mine's @Darylle Johnson.
Muchas gracias, Darylle, y
Muchas gracias y esperamos verte pronto.
Muchas gracias.
compren el juego, próximamente va a estar en México, en muchas partes, muchas de sus tiendas favoritas o en línea.
Que los dados rueden a tu favor.
Sí, perfect.
I forgot already.
Y esto sería todo por el video de hoy. Muchas gracias por vernos. No se olviden suscribirse y ponernos en los comentarios qué más quieran saber de este juego o algunas preguntas que tal vez tengan para Teo, que también se las podemos preguntar. Y pues muchas gracias por vernos. No se olviden de apoyarnos y then we say it.
Los dos.
Oh, now I forgot how to say it now.
Que los dados rueden.
Que los dados rueden.
No,
I'm looking like. Okay, wait. Que los dados rueden. ¿Rueden?
A tu favor.
A tu favor. Que los dados rueden a tu favor.
Yeah.
Did I say it right? Bye.
Basically, the things we said at the end of the video is like, may the die roll in your favor.
Oh, that's what I said. Okay. I had fun. That was good.